We're live.
Hey, everybody. It's Kerry Ahrend here with my co-host,
Marci Brockmann, nice to see you.
Mar- Marci Brockmann. Marci has very graciously joined us today. She's not feeling totally up to par here, but so we're running a little bit late.
Here we are.
Yeah, we're live here. And not sure. My dogs just started barking. I understand I'm supposed to have some books delivered to my house today. So if the UPS or FedEx guy shows up, we might have lots and lots of barking here. So I apologize for that.
Okay.
Hoping
Your
that they,
books are being delivered?
well, they might be. They might be the unhackable books, but I also have some calendar books being delivered from my News River Golden Retriever Rescue. I
Okay.
got this of those being delivered today, so who knows? Anyway, so welcome everybody that's joining us or will join us later. And Marci and I are here doing In Preparation for Landing, where we help both college students as they get ready to enter into the workforce, but also in particular talking about high school students and what they need to do to prepare for their landing in their college or university of choice, picking their majors and things like that. And today the topic is going to be on writing those college essays. Now, I did a short video a few minutes ago because we were going to start at 4 o'clock, and Marci let me know that she needed to run by and get a quick COVID test done. Has a little bit of a
Super
fever.
fun.
You know, so like I say, that's why she's very gracious to be here doing this with us today, not feeling totally up to par. Um, so I did a quick thing, and I talked a little bit about the importance of that essay catching somebody's attention right away, because if not, um, the people in the office there that are doing and
The
I can't
admissions counselors.
the admissions folks, yeah, that's right, are they're going to give it a quick look, probably just like a resume, a 5 to 7 to 10 second scan. And if it doesn't look very good, they're probably going to put it in a pile over here and not read it, and they may not even consider you because of that. But again, I'm going to let Marci, default to Marci because she's the expert on this. If you're joining us for the first time, I am a speaker, a trainer, and a coach. I teach project management, leadership development, as well as I do career coaching, which I've been doing for the past 12 years. Marci is a English teacher in Long Island, New York, and her students are the 11th and 12th grade students. And so this is an exercise that she does every year with her students that are planning on going to college, and helps them put together that college essay. Thank goodness for people like Marci to help our kids do that. They probably need a little bit of help and guidance on that. So I'm not going to do a lot of talking today. Marci, I know you said you're a little bit of short on breath, so if you
That's fine.
start to get
As long
tired
as
or
I'm
what,
not doing this and stairs at the same time, we're good.
okay. But I'm just going to turn it over to Marci and tell us things like, what should be on there. One of the things I said on the short little preview I did before is that I don't even know how long a college essay is supposed to be. If there's a minimum and a maximum, I imagine that there is. What are good topics? How do people pick the topics that they write on? Um, and anything else that would be important for parents to know, and even 10th, 11th, 12th graders, folks that are getting ready to put together these college essays. What are the things that they need to know so they can be successful in writing a good essay that will help, along with their grades and other things, hopefully help them get into the college or university of their choice.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So this applies not only to people who are trying to get into colleges as undergrads, but also people who are trying to get into colleges as graduate students, because quite frequently they have to write essays or personal statements for those also, and all the same rules apply. And now that we are in a very particularly unique year for the first time ever in the middle of the pandemic, lots of our applicants haven't had the ability to take those standardized tests like the SATs and the SAT2s and the ACT tests. So they don't have the standardized tests to bolster up their application packages. So the essay has become more important. It's an even larger percentage of what it is they look at.
Can I ask you a quick question? Are they going to postpone them? Are they not going to be able to take them online? Or are
they can't take them online because they can't prove that the person who is signed up is the person who's taking it. And a lot of the testing centers can't gather students in those quantities in order to take the tests. So
So a lot of them are just not going to even
they're
have
not applicable. They're not doing it. I mean, a lot of kids couldn't get the tests when they were offered in the spring because they weren't offered in the spring. They were canceled. I don't really know what the situation is in the fall, but there's usually only 1 or 2 tests given in the fall before application deadlines start to begin. So if they're not doing them because of COVID, then a lot of the students are applying without them.
Wow, and that means even more emphasis, as you were saying.
Exactly. And there's always, for the last, I don't know how many years, there's been a very strong emphasis on community service and extracurriculars. And our seniors last year who were in college freshmen now were, and our seniors now who are going to be freshmen next year, they don't have a lot of extracurriculars because a lot of schools around the country aren't doing them because they're doing virtual or hybrid schooling, and there aren't sorry, my phone was dinging, and there aren't community service projects to do because the places where you would do community service for are not allowing people in. I mean, there's things like collections of stuff for homeless or for shelters or whatever, but there's really not that many opportunities. Like the hospitals aren't allowing any healthcare worker or volunteers in. So
it's going to be a totally different.
It's a totally different ball of wax. So I have a few articles. So let's see if I can figure out how to share my screen. Sharing a window. I'm going to share a Chrome tab. I have a Google slide presentation that I created. Can you see that?
I cannot.
You cannot.
No.
Okay, let me get onto Facebook and see.
While you're looking for that, I want to say that my neighbor's child is a senior in high school this year, and she has chosen 5 colleges that she's going to be applying to. She's like a straight A, very hard.
Okay, you keep talking for 1 second. I have an emergency I have to tend to.
She did do some do an internship this summer. She to go to vet school in the after she graduates from college. At least that's the plan right now, and things can certainly change. But she was able to do an internship at a vet office, not locally, not here in Raleigh where I live, where we live, my next neighbor. It's about an hour and a half away, but they have family there. Her grandmother lives there, and so she would go Sunday nights, and then she would volunteer Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday during her summer break anyway. And her mother would go with her, take her, and she was able to do that and work at the vet's office. And if you have pets, you know that, and I've been to the vet's office many times.
Figure it out. I gotta go.
They've reopened again, and the vet's office just basically makes you drop your animal off. You stay in your car, and someone comes outside and takes your pet inside. So she was still able to get her internship in this summer, which is a good thing because that certainly will help her, as far as that college entrance stuff. And I also know she had taken her SATs as well. But I think her mother, most of the time kids will take the SAT 1 year. I know I did it when I was in high school. I took one my junior year, but then I went and took a second SAT my senior year, hoping to get a higher score. And so I guess that based on what Marci's saying, and I never even thought of any of that stuff. Well, that's very eye-opening to me, is that many of the kids, even if they took the SATs in their junior year of high school, may not get that opportunity to go back for that second time. And so,
right. So a lot of the schools are either not counting the tests or they're making tests optional.
Yeah. I don't know what you got shining on your face, but you got a light shining on your face. I don't know if you can see it.
I don't know.
Light shadow.
I've got static on my bangs, so it's making me crazy. Still?
I didn't know if it was the lighting there or whatever that was causing that. So, but anyways, I'm going to turn it back over to you and tell us what they need to have on that essay and how to put together
oh, here. There we go.
Oh, there we go. Good.
All right. I'm going to take myself off of here so that you'll still hear my voice, I think. I don't know how that works.
We hope we hear your voice.
Yeah. All right. I stopped my video, but you can still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So this way.
You can take me off too if you want.
Actually, I'm going to take your face off too so we can just
I think they'd rather see that than me anyway.
The slide. Okay. Slide.
Application. I like that.
What?
The face of your application. I like
Yeah.
that. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Slide.
How do I start the slide presentation?
Usually, well, on mine, it's at the bottom of my page where it has it. I don't know, yours may be different, but mine's at the very bottom on the right-hand corner. My PowerPoint, if that's PowerPoint.
Yeah, this is Google Slides. So.
Oh, okay. So different. Not sure then.
All right, folks, just
how about under view? Look under view.
present. There we go. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So this is the face of your application. You know, your guidance counselor or your admissions counselor at your high school or your college who is helping you organize all of your credentials to send off to the schools is going to put together all of the quantitative things like your GPA and the courses that you took and the difficulty level of them. But the one shot that you have at actually making your application three-dimensional, the one shot that you have at making sure that that admissions counselor knows who you are and wants you, is this admissions essay. So every year, the Common App people put out their 7 questions, and sometimes they change the questions and sometimes they don't. In 2020 and 2021, which are the current essay prompts that we're working with now, they're exactly the same ones as they did last year. And so you're going to write approximately 650 words on any one of these 7 topics. And the idea is to get as close to 650 as you can.
And typically, how many pages is that if you're using like a 12-point font?
Maybe a page and a half tops.
Okay, so we're not talking a lot.
No, 650 words is very small. I wrote an article today that was supposed to be about 800, and it was hard to keep it at 800. So 650 is very tight. They have so many of these essays to grade that they don't want them to be too long, and they want to keep you targeted on your essay topic so that you're not drifting in lots of directions all at the same time.
Okay, so very concise.
Very concise. So the questions are pretty broad. Students have oops, how do we go back? Hello. What did I do? There we go. I'm not used to this Google thing. Okay. So some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent so meaningful they feel their application would be incomplete without it. We have lessons and obstacles we encounter. We have reflecting on a time where we questioned or challenged a belief or idea, describing a problem that we solved or a problem we would like to solve, like an intellectual challenge or an ethical dilemma. We could discuss an accomplishment or an event that sparked a period of personal growth, describe a topic or a concept that you find so engaging that you lose all track of time, like what makes you so passionate that it captivates you. Or they give you, if those weren't open-ended enough, they give you a freestyle. Share an essay on any topic of your choice. But regardless of what you're choosing your topic to be, you have to remember that you're the star of the essay. So if you're talking about the obstacle that you encountered being chemistry, that you couldn't pass your chemistry test and you needed it because you want to be a doctor, or, whatever it is, ultimately, you're not really talking about chemistry. You're talking about yourself. You could talk about an immigrant background, or your identity as an LGBTQ person, or your talent at singing. But ultimately, you're not really talking about those things. You're talking about yourself, and you're using the topic or the theme as a vehicle through which to talk about yourself, or a lens through which to look at yourself.
Sure. And Marci, I want to give a quick example here. When I help people write their resumes, it's sort of the same thing. It's like, maybe a problem that you solved. Okay, if you get an interview question, they say, "Tell me about a problem that you solved," and I tell people, make sure when you answer that this is or your role in a team, or let's say it's your role in a team, and I tell people, I say, even though you may be talking about a problem that you helped solve as part of a team, you have to remember that they're not hiring the team; they're hiring you.
Right.
So it has to be focused on your specific contribution to solving that problem.
Right.
And so it's the same thing. What you're trying to tell students here is, they want to know about you, not chemistry or whatever. It still has to be how you overcame that challenge. What did you do to do that?
Right. They used to have a question about somebody in your life who was a hero to you. And I think they put it in there like after 9/11, so there were a lot of people who were heroes, kind of, like legit heroes. But ultimately, even those essays weren't about their mother or their uncle who was a firefighter or a first responder. The essay was about them, and they were talking about how their uncle inspired them or how,
Impacted them in some
right.
positive way.
I think that as an example really helps sort of crystallize what we're talking about.
Sure.
Okay.
I work with at-risk girls at a place in Raleigh called Corral Riding Academy, and these are girls that have been sent there because they're failing school. Maybe it's through the court systems, the police. There's a number of different ways they end up over there, and they do equine assisted therapy and stuff like that. And one of the things I know, my only experience of helping people write their essays, and I help them in a different way. I think we talked about this last time. We went on Pinterest, and they put together things about their life, and then I used a couple other tools, but the point is to talk about their journey, their specific journey, and not to talk about Corral Riding Academy or working with the horses, but
right.
how that environment changed them and helped them now become the person, from that failing person that came in there 3 years ago to where they are now.
Right. Inspired them to grow and right. How that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. Okay. So I'm still getting used to organizing all of this. Okay. So those are the questions. All right. New screen. Okay. So you're the star of the essay. So this is your only chance at making a good first impression. So the college application is where you get to tell about all of those things that aren't included in the stuff that your guidance counselor or your school's admissions counselor sends for you. So no matter what your question is asking, it's really asking about you. You're the star of the show. You're the main protagonist. You're the one that we have to sell, that we have to publicize, that we have to do a good PR campaign so that they want to admit you into their new freshman class or graduate class. So your writing style, your voice, your grammar, your diction, your punctuation, your sentence structure all count a very great deal. So you get a chance to put yourself in the best light that you possibly can.
Marci, as I'm listening to that, and I hope we don't have a barking thing. As I'm listening to that, it reminds me again of when I'm helping, whether it's a college student or professional, and they're getting ready to prepare for a job interview. And we use what I call source stories. And the source stories, they have like 60 to 90 seconds to put together to answer a question, and using a SOAR format, which means that they talk about. I think the UPS. Sorry, y'all.
This is what live is like.
Hey, listen, Marci, why don't you take over?
Okay.
And let me go see if he's here, because he's going to be afraid to come up with all these barking dogs anyway. So
okay.
I'll finish that in a minute.
Okay, while she's answering her door. So I found this article in September. It was published in August of this year on NPR.org, nationalpublicradio.org, how the coronavirus has upended college admission. So here's what I started hinting at earlier, that although we're used to application packages for colleges and graduate school containing standardized test scores like the SATs, like the GREs, like the ACT tests, there haven't been a lot of options for students to take these tests over the last 6 or 7 or 8 months because of the COVID-19 epidemic. So students' applications will be missing those things, potentially. God, those dogs are loud. Potentially a semester or two of grades, potentially extracurricular activities, potentially they'll be missing band and theater and volunteering and all those other fun things that help distinguish applicants from each other. So the one shot that you have is this essay. Okay, so here's a little graphic just to drive that point home. So in this circle is what we had last year in the 2019-2020 cycle, as well as the previous years. So if this circle represents 100% of the things that are in your academic and personal profile, then you've got 25% devoted to standardized testing, SATs, ACTs, and the SAT2 tests. 25% that goes with grades and class rank and course difficulty. And then this other 50% is made up of your of this pie. So we have this 50% divided into 25 and 25. So we have personal statement, which is your essay, any supplemental essays, which are other questions that they want you to answer, because some colleges have other things besides the Common App essay, and then addendum, like awards that you might have won, or letters of scholarship, or music scholars, or science awards, things like that you might win. And then there's the activity sheet and all of the extracurriculars and the sports and the band and the volunteer activities, etc., that are in the activity sheet, your interview if you have one at the college, and then any teacher recommendation letters that you can put together. So if that all together is 100% of what your profile components are, and now we're taking away this whole wedge, this whole 25%. So now we've got the 75% that comprises everything else now being the 50%. What that means is that your personal essay counts for even more than it ever has before. So you can sort of see the percentage at this point. Okay, so stylistic advice. Your college admissions essays, wordiness is by far the most common stylistic error. You only have 650 words to say every single thing that you want to say, and to say it in the best way that you can. So being wordy helps, it hinders you, because you'll fill up your 650 word count much more quickly than you want to. So when you're doing your little brain dump, you're going to write down everything that you possibly can about the subject that you want to write about. Then when you go back, you're going to be revising it, and make sure that you don't lose your meaningful content. Make sure that everything that you keep is engaging and effective. You're going to remove repetition and redundancies, the BS stuff that you don't need. There's extra filler and fluff and whatever else that we tend to pad our writing with because we think that it helps us. In this case, with such a very short amount of time, 650 words, you really don't want to waste time on other things. So stylistic things, you're going to avoid lists. Frequently, college applicants, graduate school applicants make mistakes in trying to include all of their accomplishment activities in your application essays, so that they read like tedious lists of things. Remember that all of the courses that you took and many of the activities that you participated in school, and even the sports that you may have taken part in earlier years, your freshman, sophomore, and junior years of high school, those kinds of things are going to show up in what the counselor sends in your application package. So you don't need to list those things, because they're boring to talk about anyway, and they take away from the compelling, engaging story that you're going to tell related to the theme or the question that you've decided to answer. When I post this on Facebook, and when I post this on my YouTube channel, What's Up Marci, and wherever Kerry posts it, we will link this Google slide presentation for you, so you can get more of the details and reflect back on it when it makes sense to you. So you want to include a little bit of a touch of humor, not a lot, because this isn't a stand-up comedy routine, but a well-placed joke, or a little sarcasm, a little self-deprecating humor, a little clever metaphor works a lot. Avoid bad puns and off-color jokes, lots of dad jokes, just reject those. We don't want them. Remember here, this is a key point, that humor isn't a substitute for substance. Your primary task is still to answer the essay prompt thoughtfully. To put a smile on your reader's lips is a bonus, and will reflect more of your personality and allow them to get to know you in a much more three-dimensional way. Tone. Yeah.
I would think they have to be really, really careful, because adding humor what's funny to some people isn't funny to
Oh,
others.
absolutely. You have to be extremely careful.
Extremely careful. So if you're going to do that, you need to run it by your English teacher. You need to run it by a couple people. Make sure that it's not, because you may say something you don't think is offensive to anyone, and somebody goes, "Oh my gosh."
Right.
So you have to be really careful with that kind of stuff.
Like I had an essay from a student a bunch of years ago who she was talking about the process of maturation, the process of discovering yourself and becoming a more mature, evolved person. And so she had this whole metaphor between tomatoes and onions, that onions with the many layers were adults and they were tough and they had an outside skin and they could withstand some elements. But tomatoes without layers and without a protective skin, those were the kids. And then as the tomatoes grew up, they onionized. So she created this whole weird metaphor that totally worked. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
And so that kind of thing you can do. It's a little humorous without being a joke kind of thing, but it's a little creativity that adds a little more three-dimensionality to the person's appeal.
I personally would consider that more creative than a joke, because I just think you have to be real careful. I've been teaching in corporate classrooms for 23 years. And, I know I have to be very, very careful about, what I say. I mean, the other day I said something on one of our Facebook things where someone had showed a picture of a sink that fell off the wall and was talking about the book Unhackable. And the guy happens to be a podiatrist, right?
Oh, I saw the picture of the sink off the wall. That was crazy.
Did you see the comment that I put in there?
No.
I said, "Oh, Dr. Brandt, I have a real sinking feeling now.
Oh, good.
But I know that you're going to help people learn how to become, how to overcome defeat."
Nice.
Defeet.
Yes, that's cute.
So it was very cute. It was, even Kerry Oberbrenner commented. He said, "Boy, you're really good with words." And I said, "No, I was just channeling my inner Chuck, which is my dad, because it was really one of his corny. He would say something about feet and all like that. But it worked perfectly for a podiatrist, right?
Absolutely. That's funny.
You have to be really careful with that kind of stuff. So, and by the way, it was my journals for their News Forever Golden Retriever Rescue that we're going to be selling. He delivered 4 very large boxes out there, and then
wow.
So, not my Unhackable book yet, but just a really nice journal.
Is it a 2021 calendar?
Are the 2021 calendars, and I want to show you real quickly here. We've got in the back of it. Well, I have a wall calendar that we put together too. I'm responsible for doing that every year. The wall calendars are already available for sale, but this is something new we're doing this year. We're doing, these kind that teachers can use and people use, right?
Oh, nice.
But this one
is that your dog?
That's my dog Keegan. Yes, he's in the month of July. So
Aww.
Handsome boy. And then we've got the nice month here, and then in the back there's 70 pages of lined paper so that people can take notes in it. So
that's Marci, cool. Is it all retrievers?
Well, most of it, the only thing we say about when people submit their pictures, it doesn't have to be a golden, but it has to be one of our alumni. So we adopt goldens, golden hearted, and golden mixes. So they're not all purebred goldens, but anyway. So yes, that's why all the barking. So I apologize for that.
No, it's fine. I enjoyed it. It's fun. I don't hear barking often. It sent my cats running over here.
Yeah.
We have
go back in there. Jump back in there, Marci.
We have one of my cats sniffing around the computer. I'm like, don't step on here. All right. So
you've always got one of them that comes and visits.
Always. All right. So let's go back. So revealing your character. So you want to make sure that your character, your personality qualities are evident in your writing. It's extremely important that your essay reflect who you actually are as a person. Your character shows up in 3 places on the application: in your interview, if you have one. And I don't know when the time of COVID, if students are doing interviews, they may do telecommuting interviews through Zoom or something like that. I'm not sure. Because I know that most college campuses at this point are closed and they're not letting anybody but staff and students and faculty on the campuses. I couldn't even go visit my kids in their colleges if I wanted to.
I do know that when I was out of town last week, the lady that takes care of my two of my dogs while I'm gone, she is a assistant vice president at Duke University in charge of international student affairs, and
That's a big job.
yeah, and she also spent 6 months over in China. She's originally from Taiwan, but she spent 6 months over there because they have a partner university in China, and and so she's on Zoom a lot. She's working out of her home, but they're still carrying on. I mean,
Yeah.
just like the rest of us on online. So
Yeah. So a lot of these things, they might have interviews this way, but I don't know. It might depend on the school, and it might depend on the actual day itself.
sure.
Okay. So mechanics. As an English teacher, I can't stress this one enough. Have it read 1,000 times to make sure we don't have grammatical problems. You get rid of your punctuation errors and your spelling mistakes, to make sure that your prose, your sentences, have as few errors as possible, if not absolutely perfect. Your quality control on this is exceedingly important. It says a lot about you if on this excruciatingly important essay you have errors that you didn't catch. You can use, I know that I have a cat driving me crazy here. You can use Google Docs. You can use Microsoft Word, have spell check in them and things like that. But there's a free extension called Grammarly, which you can add to Google Chrome. You can also go to their website, I think it's grammarly.com, and upload your essay, and it for free will go through your whole essay, telling you where your stylistic errors are, where there's punctuation issues, how your voice sounds, etc. They'll rate you and actually give you comments and highlight your way through there. And then once you're satisfied with how it looks there, you can copy and paste it back into the other software that you choose.
And I know a lot of people, for example, Marci and I are both authors, and a lot of people use Grammarly, and it's a great thing too. But there's still time, especially if you're just doing a spell check, when the word should have been. Well, I did this a lot with my book. I kept putting the word chose instead of choose.
Right.
Okay. So spell check's not going to pick that up.
No, but Grammarly will, because it reads for tense and point of view.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's a great tool.
Yeah. A lot of students do things like they want to spell the word definitely and they autocorrect it to defiantly instead. And it's careless because they don't look back, you know? So, all right, let's keep going. I think I'm getting the hang of this. Okay, so here's another article that talks about how coronavirus changes college admissions. So the pandemic is sort of turning everything around. And according to this guy, Frank Bruni, we may not be going back to, this may just show that the SATs and the ACT scores are unnecessary for college admission. It's just a totally different thing here. So
that would have made me happy when I was in high school.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to make the companies that run the SAT tests and the ACT tests happy, because now they're going to be out all this income, but they've really had a stronghold over the entire educational system, and preparing for these tests in a lot of ways made the college admissions process almost economically unfair. Because
I mean, it definitely is, because you think about it, I see the parents that who have lots of money, can take their kids and put them through all these type of programs and stuff, and then you look at lower income families, they can't afford to do that.
They can't afford the expensive prep classes and so on that help the other kids, the more well-off kids, get better scores. So I think if we eliminate that, then we're going to get back to a more economically level playing field, which is going to make a lot more sense for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
See,
there's a cattail.
Show up.
There's a cat here driving me insane. He needs to go away. Okay.
That if you have a paper in the middle of the entire room, just one piece of paper, the cat will go lay on it. So since
the cat will go everywhere. Okay.
Doing this now, they got to get on your keyboard, right?
Exactly. Okay, so there's this woman named Elizabeth Dankowski who is a college admissions expert. She is a college admissions professional and has a company, I think, that she uses to privately advise students and their parents on how to apply to top level colleges. And she does a lot of writing about a college admissions process and the essays and so on. And so she wrote an article about how to write a Harvard-worthy application essay that I give out to my students every year. And these are her top essay secrets. Tell a deeply personal story about profound change and take time for self-reflection. There's nothing that we find as readers more compelling or more of a lean-in moment than a personal story that reveals a little humanity, reveals a little vulnerability about you, reveals a little self-reflection and self-analysis. Nothing better than that. Think about the kinds of stories that you like to hear other people tell, and tell something like that about yourself.
When I was talking about Corral Writing Academy, that's the way most of their essays are written. The extreme changes that happened while they were in those programs, and learning to trust and learning to build relationships and things like that through the equine assisted therapy and so forth. So, some great stories that align exactly with what she says there in that bullet.
Exactly. It's extremely important. Okay, so we want to offer a little bit of mystery at the end, or an element of surprise, potentially. Make your essay as descriptively vivid as possible, especially the introduction. Because like Kerry said before, you have to wow them in the first couple of lines. Have something in there that sucks them in, that makes them lean in with your descriptive prose. You want to touch as many of the senses as possible. Make the reader see it and feel it and smell it and taste it and hear it. You want it to come alive for them.
Keep reading.
So that they keep reading. Exactly. You want to build the conflict and your story arc so that there is a little bit of tension and then it's resolved. This goes in hand with the mystery portion, where you kind of want to take them on a little journey and show them that there was an issue, there was a problem, there's a hurdle, there was a concept or something that has been gnawing at you, or something that you wanted and were trying to do, and then somehow, through the course of your self exploration, you were able to resolve it, and how that lesson is going to carry forward. That's always the last piece of this. How did the lesson, how did the turning point, how did the self-reflection, how did the resolution of the conflict teach you something that you can then not only apply to your life in college, not only add to the college community, but also how it can add to your quality of life and the meaning that you have in your life, and how you can affect positive change in others. That last piece is extremely important, because we're looking at the past, we're looking at who you are now, and we're projecting into the future. They want to know, like, not only are you a top-notch scholar and a creative thinker and a really all-around nice, kind, wonderful person, but that you're also going to get involved in your college community and you're going to apply these lessons that you learned to your future. They want that.
Hey, Marci, as you move on to the next slide, let me ask you a question. Is there a way, if anybody, for people that might be watching now, that they can post questions or, anything like that? I'm not seeing anything on
that's the one piece of this new BeLive.com, BeLive TV thing. I kind of like that it's got the little ticker on the bottom, and I like the ability we have to add guests and the cameras and split, but I can't figure out, like, there is a chat thing.
I see over there it says host chat, but I didn't know. But I don't want to waste a lot of time in that. But I thought if you knew that, we could tell people how they could post their questions.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
You can always reach out to us later. And a lot of people are going to probably watch this on replay.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to say is that, in the future, you watch this on replay, be sure to send us some questions. And if we didn't address Marci through this great presentation she's put together hasn't addressed all your questions, then reach out to us and we'll We'll try to get answers.
Yeah, I'm looking on Facebook on my phone to see if anybody is here. And normally it gives you like a little number when people are watching. I don't think anybody's watching us. But I don't know. I don't know if I can tell.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Because if they were commenting on Facebook, I could see them on my phone. I don't know if those comments would show up here. I'm not 100% sure.
I just wanted to ask that question.
Oh, look, I can rearrange us. Ooh, that's fun. Who knew?
The things you can do there.
That's so hysterical. All right, I'm making myself nauseous. Let's not do that.
Yeah,
okay.
Make me dizzy.
Okay. So what I have here for the rest of this presentation, I have a bunch of examples, a few examples of essays that answers different questions that may give you a better idea of what you're sort of trying to attain. Should I read them? Yeah, I'll read them. Okay, so this is about a cross-country experience. My goal was to come in dead last in every single race. I think this as an opening sentence is fantastic. The prose is simple, it's very clear, but it definitely catches someone's attention because whose goal is ever to come in dead last? Okay, for my first season of cross-country, I knew I wasn't going to be very good. I didn't train at all during the summer, and I'm a sprinter during winter and spring track, so long distance was not my preferred cup of tea or something I was even remotely prepared for. I remember each race like it was yesterday, the endless stream of sweat dripping down my body, the foot and toe cramps that never seemed to go away, no matter how much or how little water I drank, the intense thirst for even a single drop of water, the frustration I felt when I had yet another hill to battle, the multitude of girls passing me as if I was standing still, the joy I felt as I approached the finish line, the elation when I heard my team cheering my name, and the annoyingly persistent desire to drop out of the race and give up. Every day and every race, I regretted making the insane decision to join this torturous but oddly satisfying sport, but that unbelievably tiny ray of light at the finish line was the one thing that kept me going. I set an odd goal for myself, and I wasn't willing to accept defeat. I pushed myself very close to the breaking point numerous times because I knew nothing would be more satisfying than the feeling of crossing the finish line, even if I was dead last every time. From the beginning of my high school track career, quitting was not a path I was ever willing to take, no matter what. I would finish each season I started. My time on the track team is very well spent. It is not just a sport to me, it's therapy. It's a way for me to run through the mental dilemmas and intellectual challenges, to process entangled emotions and to make sense of mental chaos. Not only has my time with this team allowed me to stay in shape so much that I could eat an entire pizza and not feel any guilt, but it has also provided me with a way to meet amazing and interesting people I would never have had the opportunity to meet. See, there's a little bit of humor.
I was just gonna say that. I mean, I wasn't gonna interrupt you, but I was thinking, there you go, eat an entire pizza. But it's a little humor, but it's not anything that's off color or anything.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good example.
I've developed an irreplaceable bond with my coach, who has pushed me to grow as an athlete, competitor, and comedian in ways that I could not have accomplished on my own. This sport introduced me to myself in profound ways. I learned that I'm a fierce competitor, even when only competing against myself, that I am a constant cheerleader for my friends, that I need athletics to thrive. Track as a sport taught me that persistence and hard work, as well as a healthy sense of humor, are necessary tools on my mental tool belt for college and life. Through my sport, team, friends, coach, and myself, I have learned that commitment and hard work are among many important qualities that are required to achieve my goals, even if that goal was to come in dead last.
Wow. I would let her in.
Yeah. It's really, really well done. It's within the word count. It's very short. It's very to the point. There's nothing superfluous or annoying or repetitive. It's descriptive. It continues the entire, metaphor or goal of the dead last concept, and yet very clearly talks about personal growth, physical and mental and emotional. It talks about connections with other people, building meaning in her life. It has a little bit of humor.
Not giving up. Yeah.
Right. All these really wonderful tools and qualities she's learned about herself through this, and how she is planning on using these qualities and tools in the future. Perfect essay.
Right. Absolutely. That's a really, really good essay.
That's a good one. Okay, this is another one that I love. The Job I Should Have Quit. This is an ethical dilemma essay. Okay, you can learn a lot about me from a quick glance in my closet. Also a good opening sentence. You'll find no clothes, which is odd, but shelves filled with motorized Lego kits, erector sets, model rockets, remote control race cars, and boxes full of motors, wires, batteries, propellers, soldering irons, and hand tools. I've always enjoyed building things. No one was surprised when I decided to apply for college for mechanical engineering. When last May, a friend of my father's asked me if I wanted a summer job working for his machining company, I jumped at the opportunity. I would learn how to use computer-operated lathes and milling machines. I would gain valuable hands-on experience from my college studies, and I'd get a good line on my resume. Within hours of beginning my new job, I learned that my father's friend was a subcontractor for the military. The components I'd be making would be used for military vehicles. After that first day of work, I had many conflicting thoughts. I am firmly against the United States' overuse in military might in the world theater. I'm a big critic of our mismanaged involvement in Iraq. I'm appalled by the number of lives that have been lost in the Middle East, many of them young Americans like myself. I want our troops to have the best equipment they can, but I also believe that our possession of the best military equipment makes us more likely to go to war. Military technology continues to grow more lethal, and technological developments create a never-ending cycle of military escalation. Did I want to be a part of this cycle? To this day, I still weigh the ethical dilemma of my summer work. Were I not to do the job, the vehicle components would still be produced. Also, the parts I was making were for support vehicles, not assault weaponry. It's even possible that my work would be saving lives, not endangering them. On the other hand, nuclear bombs and missile guidance systems were all created by scientists and engineers with good intentions. I'm convinced that even the most innocent involvement in the science of war makes one complicit in war itself. Fabulous sentence. I considered quitting the job. Were I true to my ideals, I really should have walked away and spent the summer mowing lawns or bagging groceries. My parents argued in favor of the machinist job. They made valid points about the value of the experience and the ways that it would lead to bigger opportunities in the future. In the end, I kept the job, partly from my parents' advice and partly from my own desire to be doing some real engineering work. Looking back, I think my decision was one of convenience and cowardice. I didn't want to insult my father's friend. I didn't want to disappoint my parents. I didn't want to let a professional opportunity slip away. I didn't want to mow lawns. But what does my decision say about the future? My summer job made me recognize that the military is a big employer of engineers, whether directly or indirectly. Undoubtedly, as I'll be confronting similar yet more serious ethical decisions in the future. What if my first job offer has a stunning salary and interesting engineering challenges, but the employer is a defense contractor like Lockheed or Raytheon? Will I turn down the job, or will I once again compromise my ideals? I may even face such conflicts during college. Many engineering professors work under military grants, so my college research and internships could get entangled in messy ethical dilemmas. I'm hoping I'll make a better decision the next time my ideas are challenged. If nothing else, my summer job has made me more aware of the types of information I want to collect before I accept a job and arrive on my first day of work. What I learned about myself during my summer work wasn't exactly flattering. Indeed, it makes me realize that I need college so I can develop not just my engineering skills, but also my ethical reasoning and leadership skills. I like to think that in the future, I'll use my engineering skills to better the world and tackle noble causes like climate change and sustainability. My bad decision this past summer has inspired me to look ahead and find ways to make my ideas and my love of engineering work together. This one almost brings me to tears each time I read it. You know, it is written really well. The vocabulary is very erudite and very mature. The reasoning and the ethical dilemma itself is explained very clearly, as well as the arguments that he was making. I'm assuming it's a boy, that he was making for himself, that his father's friend was making, that he was making. and why he made the decision that he made. It also talks about why he thinks that it wasn't such a great decision, and he hopes that making decisions of this magnitude in the future, he's hoping that he does a better job at it. So it's showing that whole thought process and how it goes into the future.
Sure.
I like
anybody, and that's something that when I'm coaching people on, and they're trying to decide what they want to do is, you need to think about what your values are. I mean, a lot of people would have no problem with that.
right.
Whatever your personal values are, as you start to look at organizations, you need to also understand what they do and what their values are. And if there is a conflict with you, and because you will in your career face a lot of ethical dilemmas. I mean, I've been in project management for, quarter of a century, right? 25 plus years. And project managers get put in ethical dilemmas all the time to cut corners or just tell the customer we're on time or, whatever,
Right.
we'll catch up. And, and all that is not really ethical. And they're put in those dilemmas and they have to think through that. So it's interesting to see someone this young, and this, I don't know, it could be graduate school or whatever, but, really thinking through that process. So,
yeah, I mean, I think about my son when I read this essay, because he's mechanical engineering graduate student at the University of Vermont, and we haven't actually had a conversation about military jobs, but he just did an internship with NASA over the summer, and has been for his senior year as an undergrad, and the college professor in graduate school who he's working with this year. They're doing research on materials for the International Space Station and for um, 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 interstellar space vehicles, whatever they're called, shuttles, I guess that's the word, the materials that they line the outside of the vehicle with that will help it withstand the heat of reentry. I mean, those are the kinds of things that he's working on. So, but that's where he wants to be, space things. He doesn't really want to do military, but I'm not sure if he would have a problem with that. He's a very sort of crunchy granola environmental guy, so he may go that way. No, there's nothing wrong with it either, but it begs to ask a question. That's all.
Yeah, but each of us has our own, values and
absolutely,
and
absolutely,
what fields we want to go into,
right, and what's interesting to him or not. Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue. I think we're close to the end. I think we're close to the end. That was the end of that one.
Okay.
And then this one was kind of sad. This one talks about a specific event, a thing that happened in this boy's family. Few experiences dramatically impact one's life, but whether the impact is joyful, painful, or just ordinary is determined by the mindset of the person himself. An influential experience is one that is not forgotten throughout one's entire life. Experiences that are considered negative by some can affect others' lives in more unexpected ways. However, these unexpected effects of the experience can be controlled and are mainly determined by the person himself. That's a little wordy, but we get the idea. Unfortunately for me, at a very young age of 7 years old, I experienced the tragedy of losing my father. Losing my father was clearly not the slightest bit easy or acceptable, but in fact extremely depressing and a very tough time in my life, and is most certainly something I would never wish upon anyone else in the world. It was extremely difficult to accept and cope with such a tragedy at such a young age. However, having such a strong mother, an independent older sister, and an extremely loving grandmother, and a very supportive family most definitely helped guide me through the struggle. With such amazing role models, I strongly emulated their behavior, and I thank all of them for the person I am today. It has been vital for my immediate family, my mother, my sister, and I, to stick together, to not turn on one another, to share love and respect for each other, and be very thankful and appreciative of having one another in each other's lives. Immediately after my father passed away, my grandmother was here for me. She moved in for a short period of time to provide some help and guidance around the house. To this day, I still appreciate the time she spent with us and how much it helped me cope with this tragic time in my life. One can let a negative experience leave either a positive or negative impact on his life. The negative experience of my father passing away most certainly left a major hole in my heart. The impact of this was different than any other, but however, this tragedy has made me a stronger person. It has made me appreciate what I have in life because any given day it could be gone. I learned to appreciate my own life for the gift that it is, to not take any second for granted. It also taught me what a real tragedy is and to not get upset over little things because life is too short to stress unnecessarily. However, most importantly, this unfortunate tragedy established a drive and ambition in me to be the best person I can be in every aspect of life, to put every single ounce of effort into everything I do. My main goal in life is to make my father proud because I know he is looking down on me, urging me to be successful in life. Life is extremely valuable and can be taken away any second. Therefore, it is important to make the most out of it while you can. Life will hand you its ups and downs. The way you approach these situations guides their impact. Whether the situation is good or bad, it is important to look for the positive and not focus on the negative. Losing my father most certainly left its scars in my life, but it also gave me strength, independence, wisdom, and appreciation for what I have in life, and established an ambitious drive to become something great for my father. I miss my father more and more every day. However, the only way to ensure his impact on the world is through my sister and me. I am not only accomplishing my goals, but ensuring his legacy as well, and that is the best motivation that life could hand me. I know my father is watching down on me, and to make him prouder of me every day is all that I ask of myself. Now, there are a few little punctuation and stylistic things that I would suggest that he change in my rereading of this now for the 80 billionth time. But the sentiment that he's making and the lessons that he learned and the very personal yet extremely relatable tragedy in his life makes this a really great essay.
Yeah. I think the first paragraph probably could have been cut out and somehow,
or tightened up into a sentence and then added to the second paragraph. This could have been combined.
Exactly, like one sentence and then added to the other one. Yeah.
But other than that, the kid who wrote it was 17 years old too, so so it's quite impactful. Okay, so that's the end of this presentation.
Examples that I think that's very helpful to people to
there will be a bunch of tons of examples of them up on your search results so that you can look at what other people wrote. And
it's nice because it triggers it gets you,
absolutely.
You could be totally stuck and going, I don't have anything to relate. I can't think of anything. And then you read a couple of these essays and all of a sudden it's like, oh, and it'll help you think of something. So.
Right. Like I think that people tend to think that these essays have to be about something huge and monumental, something totally different than what anybody else writes about. But that's not true. You can write about the smallest, most minute thing, the most relatable, the most human thing, and do it in a descriptive, personal, vulnerable way that only you'd be able to write about. And that's the perfect thing to write, whatever that is,
Yeah. And plus I love the pizza example in there that gave an example of, putting in some
humor. Exactly. It's very appropriate. Yeah.
That's good. So, well, okay. So, so Marci, you said that the PDF will be available on the link so that people can grab that.
Yeah, it'll be a Google slide presentation that'll, and I think it will open up in PowerPoint if somebody had it, but Google Slides is free, so it's probably easier. So that I'll link at the bottom underneath the video on Facebook and on when I upload it to YouTube. And that's there. And if people have questions, they can ask the questions underneath this link on Facebook, and we will answer them personally. They can also make comments and questions where the YouTube video will live, but it's probably easier to do on Facebook because I'll see it more readily.
Wow, this was great. And it was so eye-opening for me because, I hadn't even thought about the fact that COVID has impacted so significantly.
A lot. Yeah, I didn't think about it either. And I was just researching like newer articles to add advice if anything was changed. I was also looking up the Common App questions to make sure that they hadn't changed for my students for this year, because one of the first essay assignments I do with my seniors is to help them write the actual college admissions essays they're going to send with their applications. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to like make up a question. I want them to use the actual legit questions that they're going to send with their essay, with their applications. So, and then I found these articles. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, there's no testing.
Yeah.
So, but there were some schools before this that were also test optional. Like the college that my daughter is going to, she took the SATs twice and she took the ACTs and got reasonable scores. But the college that she really wanted, her first choice school, was test score optional. So she sent them in anyway, just because she took them. There was, was no reason to not send them. But a lot of the kids who went to that school didn't even take them. That they were already just looking at transcripts and course rigor and recommendations and GPAs and things. So,
well, let's wrap this up. And I just want to say that we'll get this posted on YouTube, and then I'll post it to the Project Career Quest VIP group. So you'll be able to see it there as well. And Marci and I should be back on, I would say in 2 weeks, but I think 2 weeks is going to be November 11th. And I'm actually teaching a PMP exam prep class.
2 weeks is the 12th.
Oh, we're doing this on Thursdays. That's right. Okay. Yeah, no, I'll be done. My class is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay. I was thinking this is Wednesday. Yeah. So hopefully we'll be back on the 12th. And I don't know what topic we're going to do yet. Marci and I will talk about it and see what will be helpful. And, if you watch this and you have some idea on some topics that you'd like for us to discuss, I mean, that's what we really like to do, is we really want to hit topics that are of interest to you.
Yeah.
Both students or parents of students. So please feel free.
Or job searchers or people looking for places they want to land into. Yeah. So feel free to give us suggestions and themes and questions and so on the Facebook page, either mine or Kerry's, and we'll work our show about that. Okay. That'd be great.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and
thank you for joining us.
Look forward to seeing you again. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Marci. Hope you feel good.
Thank you.
Feel better.
Thank you. That's the plan. Bye.